I think what's lovely about food, genuinely, right, it brings people together.
Tom, thank you so much for welcoming us here today. Loved the food.
That's very kind.
I mean, and not just blowing smoke, but that was really, really tasty. All of it. Different courses, different flavours.
Yeah, just a snapshot into what we do predominantly here at Restaurant Story, but a snapshot. Guys, we're trying to do an interview here. I now know why my mum, when we were younger, would get upset. You know, when you get to that kind of age and you want to eat dinner by the TV and you want to watch TV and have your dinner, my mum was always so strong on like, no, we all eat at the dinner table together as a family. Because I grew up with a brother and a sister, so a family of 5, and we were all off doing our own things. I'd be going to football, my brother would be going somewhere else, my sister would be at dance, and that one time in the day we would sit round the table for 30, 40 minutes, and you know, my mum was really big on that, and now I understand why, because you know, it was that one time where the family would sit down together. And I think that's what's so lovely about food, right? 9 times out of 10 it brings you together and it's an occasion, and to be able to do that obviously today with you guys here has been a pleasure. The mechanics behind a restaurant are like way more, I think, than people realise. You know, like the general layman that would come in, the customer.
Who just comes in and tastes the food and that's it, and what happens in the engine room and behind.
I think recently, obviously, there's been a lot more out on like TV, and I think people are becoming more educated about like restaurants and food. And these guys now are plating your main course. Wow. So it's some Wagyu.
Wagyu. Yeah. I mean, it just gets better and better this Tom.
So it's a hybrid cow from the Highlands. Just with really beautiful mashed potatoes and ratte potatoes, good amount of butter, some French white asparagus, some morels as well that we've stuffed, and then these are just some little wild herbs from the UK, some wild garlic.
But the key is high quality and the way it's presented and made together, flavours together.
Yeah, it starts with the product, right? Like we work with a really small group of farmers and producers and growers. Yeah. And then our job really is to give that product the most respect we can give it, right? Yeah. And that comes from knowledge and understanding of the ingredients. Been working in restaurants our whole life. You build up that catalogue of knowledge, a bit like boxing, like you have all of your fundamentals.
Yes.
And then you put your own style to it, right? Yep. And that's similar in food, right? We have the fundamentals and the produce, and then we put our style to it, so we have a certain way that we like to approach food. I speak about it a lot, and I think it's really poignant now in the world we find ourselves in now, is actually making sure you still feel very proud about working hard. You know, I think that's fallen away a little bit more so than ever in terms of like, you know, be proud to work hard and apply yourself to something, and not knowing what that outcome can truly be. You know, when you start boxing, you don't know if that's going to end up becoming a world champion. Can be the desire and the want, and same for me. I didn't know that when I started cooking that it would lead to me being a Michelin star chef and having my own restaurants. But I think that dedication, like you said, commitment, desire, you know, is something that I'm obviously very proud of, and I think it's why probably I have such a fondness with a sport like boxing, because you need all the same fundamentals.
I know you know Conor Benn, you know Luke Campbell, you know Joshua Boatsy. What's it like having Johnny and Matt upstairs?
Yeah, it's great. You know, honestly, I think, you know, I've been a fan of boxing for a long time, and my father was a huge fan, and I fell in love with it through him. And I think what I love about it is such an honest, hard-working sport, and I think that it's a bit like cooking. Like it reveals truly who you are. I just love the vulnerability that boxing brings. You know, I think that you know, in essence, it's a very simple sport. It's 2 men, 1 ring, and a pair of boxing gloves. And I think that actually behind the scenes, the work that goes in to dedicate your craft, the fundamentals of boxing, the level of commitment that is required. And I've been fortunate enough now, you know, to have and have made friends in the sport who dine in my restaurants, who I've been fortunate enough to sit at some great fights. Obviously, I saw you in Riyadh, and I just think there's nothing better than watching two people, or two men, two fighters at the very top of their game, put everything on the line ultimately to become victorious. And I think that, it's a sport that, as I said, you can't find a sport, I don't think, more honest and more beautiful really at the core.
We meet through Cadro, through Greg and the team there, and the synergy that sort of brings people together, almost with the same dedication and passion. And for us, at least this is what I want to do with Cadro, is help athletes, help young fighters, look after their lives a little bit better, maybe structure, invest well, have a better life beyond it, because we know how short sporting careers are.
I've been through that journey a little bit myself in terms of when you're a talent and you start to see results from your work. I think it's really important that you have good people around you that can guide you and make sure you make best use of them results. With Cadro, for example, obviously I think what they're doing and how forward thinking they are as a brand, not only as a brand, but also they are genuinely looking to make sure that young people have the right advice. And for me, I've been fortunate enough that through my mistakes over the last probably 5-6 years, it's led me now to be in a place where I've got good people around me that advise well. And I think you're right, you never know your day to day, you work so hard. You need to make sure that the people that you have around you genuinely are giving you the right advice. And I think that when you look bigger picture and long term, it's so important. I think a lot of the times when you're in the eye of the storm, you don't necessarily think like that.
Well, the education is everything, really. We feel like every investor should be empowered to really understand what's going on, and not just the athlete or the investor here, it's everybody around them. Everybody should be on the same page. In this case, fighters, they put the hard work in the ring in what is, an incredibly brutal sport, and so we want to make sure that not just them, but the team around them are empowered, through content, through accessibility, through simplicity. We want to make wealth management simple and engaging.
And part of the service is that we have this beautiful app. And so what can actually happen is we can go into a 3-hour committee meeting, make some really big decisions and changes dependent on what Trump's apparently saying or whatever, come out of there, and then we will digest that and put it into a 30-second video which will have no jargon, and this is what we've changed to your portfolio, this is why, and this is how it affects you. Bang.
What I do day to day is very brutal, my industry, the hours, what's asked of you as a chef, a restaurateur, an entrepreneur, an operator. I think being able to create passive income, to be able to create something for the future and make sure that you're making smart decisions, it's super important. And I think the more education we can get about that, and the more people like Cadro that can be at the forefront of that and help guide correctly, will ultimately, it lays the foundations and the groundwork for the next generation. So hopefully it becomes not a choice, it becomes a standard.